Good afternoon, everyone. Fire Chief Tim Butler here. This video update is being taped on Friday, May 23rd. Last week in the Fire Chief's update, on the Saturday morning update, I mentioned that I would have more details about the 2014 budget process. I'm providing that information to you today so that you're aware of the process and the timelines for our budget submission for 2014. I'm doing that via a slideshow that was prepared by the Office of Financial Services earlier in May when they presented it to the department heads and office directors and the budget analysts for the cities. The 2014 budget starts off with a budget gap of $11.1 million. This is caused by general inflation, the tails from some public service grants, public safety grants, including our 2009 SAFER grant, and some new facilities. So as the departments approach the budget year, they have to come up with, if you will, $11.1 million just to fix the gap they have in the current budget. The good news for the fire department is if we can find a way to cover that gap citywide, our 2009 SAFER grant will be in the budget from now forward. So we will find a way to keep those 18 firefighters as we have intended to do all the way along. There's some additional outside pressures that create budget gaps on the city, including legislative changes and some contracts that aren't settled yet. At the time this slideshow was prepared in early May, the legislature was still in session. Everyone was talking about an LGA increase, which looks likely now because they've passed the legislation. What that will do is provide about $10 million in increase to the city over the current LGA processes. Public safety pensions appear to be fixed, and they've made some changes to workers' compensation. Revenue potential for the city, the income the city gets, is continues to be kind of a constraint. We are in a challenging property tax environment. The LGA, although it has improved for 2014, is likely to become flat in future years, so we may get a windfall in 2014, but not much after that. And there's standard revenue growth in the city, about 1% a year, but our annual expenditures go up about 3.5%. So we have that ongoing budget struggle every year. In our current environment, we have about, as I said, about a $11.1 million gap. General revenues will cover some of that. At the time the slideshow was put together, they were trying to show a very conservative outlook, so they assumed LGA would be a zero increase for this time around. Then there would be about a $10 million gap. So as we approach the 2014 budget year, all departments had to come up with essentially a $10 million solution. Going forward in 2015 through the next 4 years, they have projected out the gap to be roughly between $9 and $11 million, roughly about $10 million a year. Revenues will come in, increase in revenue will cover some of that gap. Property tax inflation, assuming current rates, and then LGA will continue to grow modestly if the funding formula that they projected comes to pass, which that looks like that's happened at the legislature. We still will have between a $4 and a $6 million gap to deal with from here on out, but that's much better than a $10 million gap. The budget approach that Finance and the Mayor's Office has taken with the departments has been that inflation will be applied to budgets, goods and commodities, as I said, about 3.5% increase every year. Departments for 2014 are asked to provide two budget scenarios, one with a baseline budget and one with a 2% reduction. Opportunity funding proposals were asked for the first time this year, and essentially what that does is provide the departments an opportunity to say, hey, with a little modest investment here, additional investment into our department, we can show that we can provide better services in the future, we can save money in the future, or we can provide a more effective service in the future. So that there will be some opportunity funding proposals submitted in our 2014 fire department budget. The 2014 budget philosophy from the mayor and the finance office are maintain the structural balance so that we can eliminate and continue to reduce the gaps that we have. An awareness that property tax burden on the citizens of St. Paul is still quite high, and then preparing for the future, especially through those opportunity funding proposals. Some significant dates and deadlines. May 21st to the 30th, the departments meet with OFS. Our meeting for fire is slated for May 30th. June 5th, we submit our department budget proposals to finance. Then we begin meeting with Mayor Coleman in early June and continuing through July. The fire department's budget meeting with the mayor is scheduled for June 11th. Late July, the decisions from the mayor will be finalized and put into a proposed budget, and then he'll make a budget address, and then the council gets the fall to have deliberations and public input on the budget. Hopefully by mid-December, we'll have a 2014 budget that's adopted for our use. For the 2014 fire department budget, we have discussed in labor management a number of items that we have brought up in the past and have well-documented needs for. And what we've done is look at that list and try to hone that down to something that's realistic and packageable. And the 6 items that you see displayed here are the items that all of us feel comfortable supporting. There may be additional items asked for by both the union and the administration. There may be some of these items taken off the plate, but most of these are what we feel we can confidently go forward with a budget request and some opportunities on how to provide these positions and equipment. The first is critical staff positions like health and wellness, emergency medical services coordinator, special operations chief. Some of the things that were itemized in our 2007 strategic plan that have yet been funded or have yet to be funded. And so some of those critical staff positions like that. Additional firefighters to boost our staffing strength to either replace Engine 20 or put additional super medics in play. We all have seen the need for ladder truck issues this year, and in many cases ladder trucks running as engine companies because of critical ladder shortage. We've all highlighted the need for paramedic training. We need about 140 to 150 paramedics on the street. We have about 120 right now. Air pack replacement, which will begin this year but will be completed next year. That's a huge expense for our department. And ongoing labor management facilitation and some costs to host an annual retreat like we did with our Chiefs Conference. So there's some of the things that are going to be showing up on our radar scope, and as we move forward and look at what the costs are going to be and how much we can afford to ask for, these are the things that you can anticipate seeing in our budget request. Stay tuned for more details about the 2014 budget. As these things develop and as we continue our labor management discussions around the budget, we'll continue to provide you updated information, but this is the information we have for you today, both a kind of an overview of the city's perspective and also some insight into our specific requests for 2014 from the department. Thank you.